어젯밤에 내가 잘못했어. 이제 그만 나를 용서해줘. 앞으로 더 잘할게 라고 약속해 baby. 나는 어제 내가 잘못한 걸 눈에 뜨고 드디어 깨달았네 baby. 왜 넌 너만 보면 감이 자꾸 투정을 부리게 돼. Boy what do I do. 이거 말투 이쁜 얼굴은 찌뿌둥해지네. 집에 와서
Hi, my name is Mashanta and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today is a different video of sorts. It's a bit of a homework video, but I'm super excited and I really wanted to document this. I hope you'll find this interesting. I love books. I love collecting books. I love reading. I used to be a really avid reader as a kid, but of course life happens, so I'm not as active as I would like to be with reading. Today, I have finally, after a very long time, probably 3-4 years now, gotten a new bookshelf. It's upgraded. You can see in the background this is like with real wood, which is a big deal for me because the past 2-3 years I've just been managing with IKEA wall units that you put on the floor, and I really like the way this looks. It's like a mid-century bookshelf. This works perfectly for my current requirement. I probably have 60-70 books at this point. This is the collection that I've built after moving to Dubai. I didn't move any of my books from India to Dubai, so I must have had 200-300 books which I kind of dispatched to 2 different locations in Hyderabad and Chennai. And as I'm organizing it, I'll talk you through my organizing system, my favorite books, and hopefully you will find this an interesting video. And let me know if this is the kind of thing that would interest you as well. So let me know if you would want to see more about my reading journey, the books that I like, the books I recommend, my general reviews. I would love to kind of venture into that side of the internet as well. Basically, I have 1.5 boxes full of books. This is how big the box is. And so I want to do one box first. Hopefully, I'll still have some space to put the other books. I can't believe I'm already out of breath. And I work out regularly. Like today I didn't get my workout, but hopefully this bending and is like a good enough workout. Now these are the latest batch. I don't know if you can see. Yeah. These are the latest batch that I got from India. Point number 1 about how I build my book collection is I don't buy in Dubai unless it's an author that I don't get in India, like specialized Middle Eastern authors, because I'm just ruined by India prices of books. I cannot spend beyond, I don't know, $5-6 on books unless I haven't seen that price lower than that for like 3 years in India. So I go to India often enough. So every time I go, always reserve space for at least 10-12 books in my baggage. Sorry, I'm out of breath already. This is pathetic. Point number 2, I always try to have a really diverse bookshelf. So you will see a balance between fiction and non-fiction, a balance across different countries in the world. I always try to globalize my bookshelf. Translated works with equal representation from East and West, North and South. I think there are some very clear white spaces in my bookshelf. For example, I haven't read much of Eastern European authors or South American authors or African authors. So I think there's just a lot more that I can do there. Another way where I discover non-fiction books, non-fiction authors is I listen to a lot of podcasts. So every time there's a guest on a podcast that I like, where I really enjoy what they're saying or I find that they speak a lot of sense, I immediately check whether they have books out or they're planning to write books, and I try to get my hands on their bestsellers. Oh, the third thing in terms of how I typically organize my bookshelf, it's not organized by genre or author, it's organized by color. I just think visually I love it when my bookshelves are color coded. From left to right, I always try to keep the thicker volumes on the left and it goes in decreasing order. That's just something that I enjoy doing visually. I mean, there is no hard and fast rule. It depends on what you like. And as long as you're able to find your book, then that's all that matters. Oh, and I don't only read paperbacks, even though I prefer to read paperbacks. I also read on Kindle. Kindle I find really useful when I'm traveling because you can just have so many worlds in that one slim notebook, or when I'm trying to read at night, because then I don't need to switch on the light, I don't need to get up and switch off the light once I'm done reading. But my preference, my heart, my soul will always be with paperbacks, which is why you will always see me frequenting bookstores. Zadie Smith is something bluish, so I can keep. Oh, this is a book that I'm super interested in. This is All the Beauty in the World by Patrick Brinkley. It's a museum guard's adventures in life, loss and art. It's non-fiction and it's about behind the scenes and reflections that somebody at a museum has. I love museums. Given a chance, every city I go to, I try to visit museums. So this book definitely spoke to me, and I discovered this in a really nice bookstore called Luna in Hyderabad. If you're ever visiting Hyderabad, India, this bookstore is the stuff of dreams. It's an independent house converted to a bookstore, and the owner is clearly somebody who just loves books. So I think they have an amazing collection, amazing curation, great recommendations. All in all, a lovely experience. Highly recommend Luna. So you will see all the blues go right on top. There are many shades of blue, but you can't be so precise. This one, The Girl Who Saved the King of Sweden, is I think one of my recent reads this year. Brilliant, brilliant book. So good, highly recommend. Basically about the South African girl who lands up in Norway, and it's written by the same person who wrote the 100-year-old man who climbed out of the window and disappeared. So it's so far-reaching in its scope, ridiculous, it's almost unbelievable, incredulous in terms of how this author stitches different world events together. But it's written with so much humor, and it deals with a lot of dark subjects. So for example, I haven't really read an account of how apartheid was in South Africa, so this was a good way to get introduced. So I mean, it was a heavy subject, but it was dealt with so much lightness in a way that wasn't disrespectful. It was a really, really good book. I highly recommend Jonas Jonasson. This is the second book of his I've read. Both books have been stellar. I think something that goes from light blue to dark blue, deep indigo and black would be nice. So I'm going to put this here. Next I have Diary of a CEO by Steve Bartlett. I listen to this podcast all the time. My husband wanted to read this for a change, and I like Steve Bartlett. I think he speaks a lot of sense. So always good to kind of read about his journey and read about his reflections. Next I have Jeffrey Archer, Over My Dead Body, a black binding. If you read, then Jeffrey Archer needs no introduction. I really enjoyed some of his earlier classics, but I was very disappointed with the Clifton Chronicles. I liked Cain and Abel, The Prodigal Daughter. There was As the Crow Flies, a bunch of really good books, but I don't know, the magic has sort of disappeared quite a bit. I also like his short stories as well. In fact, there's one short story collection which is really good, To Cut a Long Story Short. I remember reading him in my teenage years, so like 12 to 16, and I was severely disappointed with the Clifton Chronicles, so I never got back. But I thought this seemed interesting enough, thrilling enough to get me out of a slump. In fact, I am going through a reading slump right now, so this could be my next read. Next is Shooting Martha, which is actually written by David Thewlis, and if you don't know, David Thewlis is an actor. He's the guy who came as Remus Lupin in the Harry Potter series. I had no idea he writes, but apparently he does, and this has great reviews, so I want to read this for sure. There's No Such Thing as an Easy Job by Kikuko Tsumura. It's about a lady who just wants to chill, who doesn't want to do any job, but I think she discovers there's no such thing as an easy job. So I've just heard great things about both these books, and I want to read them. These are two planners which obviously have come into this book. If you've seen some of my planning videos, monthly reset videos, you would know this. I love for a chance to talk about books, but I realized that with every book I pick up, I keep talking about it. So I'm going to power through some of these. This is Yellow Face by Rebecca F. Kwong. I just recently read it. I do think it was great. It was good to get you out of a slump, but I also do think it's overrated. I mean, it was a good book, but I don't think it completely deserved all the hype it got. Now, this is a book I finished, so it doesn't need to be displayed. I can put it in so that I can take it back with me when I go to India, which I am planning to in the next 2 months. So this goes inside. Okay, I also have a couple of travel books. My husband loves traveling, especially going to places that are not very crowded or frequented. Because this is blue. Perfect. This has to be a life-changing book. This is Am I There Yet by Mary Andrew. Brilliant. She has an Instagram page. It's a lot about her life lessons, realizations, reflections, along with her illustrations. Like, she and I feel like kindred spirits. Everything that she's put in this book, I have experienced a version of it before, or I've experienced it completely. And there is something about reading about an experience or a feeling that you feel only you have gone through, and to just see it written in a book by somebody whom you've never met, is a really profound experience, and maybe that's why I really enjoy reading. But if you haven't read this book yet or heard of this, I highly recommend. Am I there yet? Yeah. You can see it coming together, and look at all these beautiful hues of blue. It's very exciting. Couple more travel books. This is the Lonely Planet Ultimate Travel List, the 500 best places on the planet. And this is Atlas Obscura for a freak of a husband who loves researching and visiting the most random places. Ooh, this is a good one. This is Face Paint by Lisa Eldridge. Lisa Eldridge is a fabulous makeup artist who was one of the first ones to also start her own YouTube channel. I've learned so much from her. She also has her own makeup brand, which I really enjoy. I think the quality is just top notch. And at the end of it all, she's somebody who's super passionate about the world of beauty. She wrote this book about the entire story of makeup, the history of makeup, how it started, how it evolved, what the cultures and practices were across the world. I honestly found this a fascinating read. In case you don't know, I do love beauty, like skincare and makeup. 80% of what I talk about on this channel is all about beauty. I have to get this one when I found one of my favorite people had written this, and this did not disappoint. It's a really good book. This was a super interesting book that I found called This is the Canon. Decolonize your bookshelf in 50 books. Updating required reading collections with voices that are not white dominated. So essentially, if you think about the classics in English literature especially, they were told about a lot of English like UK and American literature. But the world has so many more voices, right? So I really found this book interesting, the premise interesting. I haven't gone through this yet because I do find that my bookshelf and my reading list on its own is quite diverse, so I didn't feel the need to go through this yet. But I think this is important for all of us who love to read and who want to learn more about the world. This, by the way, is a translated Marathi work called The Outcast by Akka Mashi. It's about caste identity and caste politics. It's, again, in addition to diversifying my bookshelf globally, I also want to diversify it from an India perspective. I've only read Indian authors who write in English like Shashi Tharoor or Vikram Seth. So I really want to read more novels written in regional languages, translated of course. And hopefully I do want to one day, I don't know if it will happen this year, probably not happen this year, but I do want to one day read a complete novel in Tamil, which is my mother tongue. This is a book that's been on my to be read list for a really long time. I don't know why I haven't read this yet. Maybe because I'm worried about how this would make me feel. And it's going to be a sharp reminder of the privilege that I enjoy. And so maybe that's why I've been postponing and procrastinating on this book. But this is The Outcast by Akka Mashi, translated from Marathi by Santosh Bhumkar.
I'm not where I'm supposed to be, and I say that shit openly. I feel it, it's strange.
This is Nausea by Jean-Paul Sartre, French author. I think my dad likes him, or he's quoted him a lot, so I believe he's a French philosopher. It describes itself as a seminal work of literary philosophy which evokes and examines the dizzying angst that comes from simply trying to live, which sounds pretty much like people trying to deal with adulting. So I decided to get this one. An example of somebody I discovered on a podcast, I think Lisa Feldman Barrett came on a Huberman podcast, and I'm somebody who is highly tuned into her feelings, so I just thought this would be an interesting read for someone like me. Example of me trying to diversify my bookshelf this year. This is Dust Child by, I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm pronouncing the name right, Nguyen Phan Kim Mai. I believe Vietnamese. Yes, this is a Vietnamese author, sweeping epic of family secrets and hidden heartache. Yeah, seems very interesting. I don't know much about Vietnam, so looking forward to learning from this book. Hi, back here to show you an example of a book that I bought in Dubai. This is The Lady of Zamalek by Ashraf El Ashmawi, and it's set in Egypt, 1920s Egypt, about a murder. The rags to riches story, talking about Egypt from the 1920s to the 1990s, which is very, very cool. I don't know much about Egypt. I have visited there. I know a lot about ancient Egypt. I'm very excited to read this one. Hi, today is the next day. I took a bit of a break because the books were heavy and my lower back is still reeling from the strength and conditioning class earlier in the day. So this is the current work in progress. I do have half a box more, I'm not exactly sure. Please ignore how I look. This is actually my usual look at home. It's a Sunday, it's the afternoon, and I can't wait to get back to this. So I have a bunch of journals. I love like analog planning along with digital planning, though I'm not very regular with it. And obviously all my stationery, art supplies. I always buy art supplies but I don't really do it. So I'm hoping that just storing it in a place that's very accessible will just remind me to use it a bit more. So I'm putting it in the drawer that you saw. I got another box. It has some books and I think a lot of odds and ends. I can't lift it up because it's too heavy. This dusty Hans Zimmer photo book. We were fortunate enough to attend the Hans Zimmer concert in Prague last year. I think around June, yeah, literally a year ago. But I don't know if we'll need this photo book, so I'll just ask my husband and maybe give this away. Remember I told you about how I discover authors and non-fiction books using podcasts? These 4 books are all examples of those. So first we have Ultra Processed People by Chris Van Tulleken. He came on, I think, Diary of a CEO or Huberman, one of the two. It's about how messed up the industry is, and I'm sure if I read this, I really hope that I'll be completely turned off processed food and eating outside. But I haven't read it yet. So this needs to go here. I have this book by Dr. Joe Dispenza, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. Now I definitely came across on Huberman, and he talks a lot about mind over matter, and he's done a lot of research around it. And he seemed very, very compelling. So I have to read it. I haven't read it yet. And then the OG, The Almanac of Naval Ravikant, absolute OG of Twitter days. Has so many pearls of wisdom, and somebody's actually curated all of that in this almanac of sorts. I've gone through this, it's very quick, and the reason I still have it here in my collection is it's the kind of thing that I know I would want a refresher of, or at least on a yearly basis, if not every 6 months. 10-Year Career by Jodie Cook. Now, she was amazing. I discovered her on this podcast with Ali Abdal, the productivity YouTuber. He also has a podcast channel called The Deep Dive with Ali Abdal. And she talked about how careers are not linear. She believes in lifestyle design a lot. And she talks about how you don't have to be married to a career, which is pretty much the mind space that I find myself in. In case you don't know, I'm in the middle of a career pivot right now, trying to make YouTube work amongst many other things. But I think primarily YouTube and digital media. Before this, I spent nearly 10 years in the corporate world, first off as a management consultant, then followed my heart to the world of beauty, getting loyalty for a beauty e-commerce firm, and then designing loyalty programs for a luxury retailer in the Middle East. And now I find myself that I've been running too much, and I really am in the mind space of trying to build something of my own, but in a way that allows me to live life on my own terms, where I'm not chasing revenue growth, I'm not getting institutional funding. Like, I don't want to fall into that trap yet. And obviously health is a major goal of mine. That podcast came at a really opportune time, and a lot of what she was telling and talking about really resonated with me. So I bought this book, but I haven't read it yet. Oh, a couple of more notebooks and journals. I thought these were really cute and pastel. My music notebook. This is my Varna music notebook. Oh god, it's in tatters. So, in case you don't know, I learned Carnatic music growing up. I must have learned for probably 10 to 15 years. And I keep singing, but I never pursued it professionally. I've given a couple of group performances, that's it. But a big goal of mine this year is to at least start practicing singing. I don't know if I'll ever share that online, but I do. I think as I've grown up, I've realized I've missed singing. Big focus for me this year is health. And I'm trying to expand into all parts of health, so including wellness and just going back to roots. So, for example, rediscovering the magic of Indian cooking. And so I realized I wanted to learn about Ayurveda a lot more. A lot of these we've sort of learned subconsciously just as habits, but I just wanted to understand Ayurveda a bit more. I bought this book, but I just never read it. So this is a reminder to me. Oh, this one is interesting. This is The Queen's Necklace by Antal Zerb, and apparently the author was murdered in a concentration camp. It's set in 18th century Paris, written by an author in 1940s Hungary. Like, I think that's as diverse as you can get. And this I haven't read, but my mom has read this and she recommends this so highly. So I think I took it from her library and I just haven't read it yet. I mean, when I say her library, I mean her personal collection. And it's been on my to-read list, but I just haven't gotten around reading it yet. I should read it. My mom has the best recommendations. I think my mom and I, usually if she likes a book, I like the book. I think my interests are a bit more diverse. I like a lot of sappy, not so great books as well. But usually when my mom likes a book, I like the book. So highly recommended, even though I haven't read it yet because it's my mom's recommendation. Oh, this I have to talk about because look at how stunning the cover is. Still Life by Sarah Winman, based in Italy in the 20th century during the Second World War. I had never heard of this. Nobody has ever recommended this. I haven't heard about this online. But I saw this at a bookstore in Delhi, if I'm not wrong. I just had to get it. So this is an example of a book just calling to me, but I haven't followed through and read it. And I should. My God, there's so many books that I haven't read in my collection. Okay, now you can see. Oh, sorry. Excuse me. Then this is a book that I've read, The Cat Who Saved Books by Sosuke Natsukawa. It's a translation of a Japanese artwork. And this was so overrated. I don't remember the last time I was this disappointed with a book. This was really bad. The only reason I could finish it was because I just wanted to know how it would end. And it was a very short read, so I could get done with it in 2 hours. But so disappointing. Do not recommend. Then I have this book of poems by William Wordsworth. Now, I've only read William Wordsworth in school, in English class, and I've always been drawn to the world of poetry a lot. I used to love preparing for the poetry section for English exams. I remember really enjoying William Wordsworth. I think the two poems, and I hope I'm not misquoting them, Upon Westminster's Bridge and Daffodils. But I always remember liking and enjoying William Wordsworth. This is interesting. This is The Little Culinary Triumphs by Pascal Pujol. And this is a French work. It's a translation from French. Life in Montmartre, which is a Parisian quarter, and it's all about food. I've had some very good luck with French authors, and so I'm excited to read this. I don't know, this is again a book that I discovered at the White Crow bookstore in Geo World Drive in Mumbai. Such a brilliant bookstore. When I lived in Mumbai, which was not for very long, I used to love visiting that bookstore every alternate weekend at least, and I would always discover some really, really good books. Is that it? Have I finished everything? Why do I feel like there's some books missing? Did I give it back in Hyderabad? I don't know.
I wanna turn my phone off, but that's where all my friends are.
I think that's majority of my books, like 98%. I don't know why I feel like there's some books missing. There's definitely a book by a French writer that I can't seem to find it anywhere. It must be hidden in some other boxes. Safe to say the bookshelf is kinda done. Very happy because I can now tackle the skincare shelf. I mean, I don't know, let me know. This is a very different video for me, for my channel, and I would love to know your thoughts if you found this interesting. If you have book recommendations, please let me know. If you have any more decor ideas, please let me know. Oh wait, before I conclude, let me just show you how the bookshelf looks right now. On top, I have all the books in blue, and you can see the gradient. It goes from all shades of blue, all the hues of blue, and then ends at in a black, which I think works like from a visual perspective. Then here on the next row, I have a lot of the beige books, the beige and white hand-bound books, white binding books, and they translate to a bit of a yellow orange, so I like that. And here I have greens mixed with yellows because I felt this yellow was a bit too bright for the yellow on top. So I have pinks and greens. So this is a bit of a mix, but I think when you look at it cohesively, it looks good. See, the last row is all red. There you go. You have, will I get a full shot of this? So you have a lot of reds ending with pinks, which I think looks nice. That book just keeps sliding off. I probably need to invest in a couple of bookends. And now that the box is lighter, I can show you how big it is for reference. So this was how big the box was. It was full to the brim, so I had like nearly 1.5 boxes full of books here. So that was my bookshelf, book organizing video. Please let me know what you think. This is a very different video for me, for my channel. It's not like I'm branching into this niche. It's just that I love books and I love organizing. And honestly, capturing this on video was the kind of motivation I needed to get this done quickly. So I'm really glad. So please let me know how you found this video. Do let me know what you think in the comments below. If you have any recommendations, please let me know. What are your favorite bookstores in the world? Please let me know. Every city I go to, I try to visit bookstores. So books, bookstores, reading, writing, these are topics that are very, very close to my heart. If they are close to yours, then I think you would enjoy me and my channel and the community that I'm trying to build here online. So I hope you would join me, and if this video resonated with you, if you enjoyed this video, I would really request it if you could like, comment, and of course subscribe, and I will see you around next time. Bye!